So we're in the bets record tab of the Cleve Bet Tracker, and what I'm going to show you now is how to add bets, delete bets, import and export the dummy data. So have a play around with this, and I'm sure you'll find something that doesn't work, but we'll go from there. So to add a new bet, basically, the first thing you need to import is the date. So I'll bring up a date picker. So we'll put today's date in. We then need to choose a bookmaker. Now, don't worry if you don't fill any of these in. You don't have to, but I'll show you in the performance and the graph section what that does affect. But you'll see in here there's some fields that are empty. You don't have to fill all these in if you don't want to. So we'll choose a bookmaker. We'll say Bet365. We'll say the bet sources. It's my own tips, my bet. It's on horse racing. We'll say it's at, let's pick a track, it's at Doncaster, and I'm having an each way bet, and it's 1/5 the odds, and I'll put my selection in here. So again, this is a free type one. You can use this if you wish to. What was the result? Well, it placed. And now the stake, remember we talked about in the settings, we're on level stakes here. So it's recommending a £20 level stake. Now that is because we've got an each way bet here, that's going to split that as £10 each way. We can change that to say 40, so now it's £20 each way. And we put the odds in. Now you've got the option here of using fractional or decimal odds, and you can change these as you go along for each individual bet. What it won't do is ripple through and change all your odds from one to the other, and you'll see why in a minute why you don't want it to do that. So we'll use fractional odds for this one. So we'll say, okay, the odds were 12-1. Put 12-1 in there. We weren't using an exchange because it's Bet365, and it's calculated the returns, the profit and loss, the running profit and loss, and your bank figure. Now, it's calculated all these here, so you'll see down you've got profit and loss for each bet. You've got a running profit and loss, and you've got your bank. Now that bank is sat at £1,498.15 because in the settings we started at £1,000 bank and we've got £498.15 profit. So it's calculated all those for us, and all you need to do then is go confirm new bet, and you'll see it's added that to the bottom of the bets record. So now we've got 15.26 because we had a £28 profit, and we've got a running total of the profit and loss of £526.15. So what you need to do then is you can either just overwrite these, but the safest way to do this is go clear new bet line. And the reason for that is that the calculations here are based on some of these parameters here. So if we clear new bet line, and it'll empty all those and it'll reset all the calculations in these fields here, which is going to affect your running profit and loss and your bank, etc. So always try and use a clear new bet line. You don't have to, but it's better if you do. Now, when we go to the settings, if we change this now to 1% of the bank, you'll see now it's recommending a stake of £15.26 for your next bet because our running bank figure is £1,526.15. So it's rounded that down to £15.26, but you wouldn't normally put a bet of £15.26 on a bookmaker's. That might flag some things that using weird stakes or using a system, etc., stuff like that. So again, you can just overwrite that to £15 or £16, the nearest bet, and then you go again. So put today's date in, put the bookmaker in if you want to, put the bet source in. So we'll say it was new tipster. What sport was it? In this case, we'll say it's football. We'll say it was a home game. It was a win bet, and it was team 1. and the result was it lost. So it doesn't really matter what the odds are now. So we'll say it was evens, yeah, and the return's minus 15 because you've lost. Well, return is 0, so your profit and loss is minus 15. Now, what you can do, because to say this was a football, you might have been on the exchange here. So let's have a look at Betfair, and we'll change it to decimal odds. Yeah. Now, if I put in there 2, so evens in decimal odds is 2 because it includes your stake back. So it will still calculate. So if I put that to 1 so we can see it, it will still calculate that that's even money, yeah, even though it's 2, because it knows it includes your stake. And if we put in there the Betfair exchange, 5%, you'll see it's not your 5% off your profit and loss. If that result was lost, it's not taking the 5% off because you've lost your £15. So that's using the exchange and the commission rates. Also, if we just change this to make it sensible to horse racing, and we change the venue, and we go back to fractional odds, and we say, now one thing to bear in mind, if you go from decimal odds to fractional odds, it'll look at the 2 and it'll change it to 2 to 1, even though it's even money. So you need to be aware that if you switch it between fractional and decimal odds and fractional odds, you need to rejig your odds in there. We don't want to use a Betfair exchange, so we take that out of there, and we put that to, say, 12 to 1. We make it's 1, so it's calculated it now. If you want to put a rule 4 in there, so you can go, so say it was 10p in the pound, it's knocked off the 10p in the pound, it's 10%, and your profit and loss there. So the rule 4 works by deducting from your profit and loss. Of your exchange works by your commission rates. You can just delete that out of there if you don't want to use that. And then all your bet types, so that would be a horse, yeah, because it's a horse racing bet. So that's basically filling a bet in. You can switch at any time between fractional and decimal odds, and you'll see down here that some are decimal, some are fractional, and it'll calculate the commission accordingly. It'll calculate any rule 4s. Now, one thing you need to be aware of with the bet types, these first 3 here are automatically calculated. So each way, win and each way, fifth and a quarter odds are automatically calculated. If you're going to put any other kind of esoteric bet in, or exotic bet, such as doubles, trebles, trixies, Yankees, etc., as I said in the intro, this is not a bet calculator, it's a bet tracker. So what you need to do is, if you had 2 selections, just put 2 horses in here. Yeah, what you need to do, and you say it's 1, it's not going to be able to work out what a double is, depending on, because there's not 2 sets of prices. So you need to put in what was the actual, you don't even need to put the odds in actually. If you just put in, you then need to put in what's your return. So it won, and it was 2 to 1, so your return's 30, say your profit is 30, so that'd be 40. So you can manually enter these figures in here and it'll still work out your running profit and loss in your bank. So any bet apart from your win, each way, quarter and fifth odds, it will not work out properly the stakes to the odds. Yeah, so just be aware of that. You need to complete those parts yourself. Yeah, and then if you've done it and it's you've overwritten those, yeah, you need to clear the new bet line so that it puts all these calculations back in, and then it'll recognize the win and each way. And calculate the right results. Yeah. So there's only certain things that you have to fill in. You have to fill in the bet type, the result, the stakes and the odds, and it will calculate for those 3 types of bets. The rest of them you manually have to put in your returns and your profit and loss, and it'll calculate everything else for you. So that's adding a new bet. Now, when you first open this, there's this dummy data. So you can delete this dummy data. So let me just clear that bet line. We can delete all this data. Now what you'll see is it's left behind that bet that we've just put in because it's not part of the dummy data. So if you want to delete that, you just highlight the line and delete it. Yeah, and you can start with a clean sheet then. Yeah, so if you want to re-import the dummy data, just click import dummy data and it's all back in there, all recalculated. If you've made a mistake, you spot you've made a mistake anywhere, so say this line here is wrong, yeah, so you've entered a bet, well, I've done that twice, or I've put the wrong data in there. If you delete that line, so let's just look at the figures before we go anywhere. So we know that on that line it was 518 because it's minus 20 from 538. If we had a total of 498 there. If we delete that line, it will recalculate all that for you. So go down here. So now it's recalculated all these figures here. So it's 538 minus 20 is 518. So you can delete lines, you can add new lines, so it's quite flexible in that respect. But the only thing is if you delete the dummy data and you've already put bets in there, it will leave those behind. So that's adding bets. Now, in the next video, I'll just re-import that dummy data. I'll show you what all these figures mean in the performance tables.